new swing vote coming on the nation's highest court. With his highly anticipated pick, will President Donald Trump ensure a conservative lean for years to come? At the EPA, scandal-plagued Scott Pruitt calls it quits. Will his replacement continue Trump's industry-friendly campaign against environmental regulation? On the border, what's been pulled apart is proving difficult to put back together. Will the fallout from zero tolerance alter immigrant families forever? And here at home, a day of heavy weather spooks millions who lived through Harvey. Will the flooding on the 4th help produce a yes vote on billions for new storm protection? I'm Greg Grugan, and welcome to What's Your Point, where our panelists call it like they see it. Let's greet them. Starting us off, longtime super neighborhood leader Tomaro Bell. Next up, progressive commentator and attorney Nyanza Moore. In the 3 spot, Bob Price, associate editor of Breitbart Texas. Batting cleanup, Marcus Davis, radio host of Sunday Morning Live. Next up, businessman, columnist, and former Kemah mayor Bill King. And closing us out on the hot corner, Chicano activist and educator Tony Diaz. Let's do this. It will happen tomorrow. An announcement veiled in the kind of mystery, intrigue, anticipation, and hefty ramification that is right smack in the wheelhouse of the one-time reality TV star turned commander-in-chief. We're talking about a Supreme Court nominee. President Trump is spending the weekend mulling over his nominee to fill the vacancy on the United States Supreme Court. If approved, the choice would replace retiring Justice Anthony Kennedy, who was appointed by Republican President Ronald Reagan. The president will announce his decision tomorrow night in a prime-time address to the nation. In his weekly radio address, the president talks about what he's looking for in the nominee.
In choosing Justice Kennedy's replacement, my greatest responsibility is to select a justice who will faithfully interpret the Constitution as written. Judges are not supposed to rewrite the law, reinvent the Constitution, or substitute their own opinions for the will of the people expressed through their laws. We reject judicial activism and policymaking from the bench. The faithful application of the Constitution is the bedrock of our freedom, the foundation of our society, and the linchpin of our government.
Which conservative will President Donald J. Trump choose as his second appointment to the Supreme Court? Will it be the mother of 7 or the former taxi driver? Could it be the first South Asian to sit on the federal bench, or the jurist who once investigated the suicide of Vince Foster? Could this president embrace controversy or play it safe to ensure a smooth confirmation in a Senate where his party's advantage is both tenuous and razor thin? Panel, what is your point? I'm starting with attorney Nyanza Moore.
Well, thank you and good morning. And I would like to say, you know, when we're selecting the Supreme Court candidate at this juncture, I notice what is absent. There are no African-American men. There are no African-American female. There are no Latina women. There are no Latino men. So let's just go ahead and call this what it is. The selection of the next white replacement for another white man. And without sounding too harsh this Sunday morning, I would like to say it's good to see a mother of 7, 2 of those children being adopted from Haiti, and then also a professor that maybe she can go ahead and extrapolate some of her intellect across the court. But with Kavanaugh, he's written over 286 opinions, and he's a Court of Appeals judge. So when you think about it at this juncture, we are not in a race to protect the Constitution of the United States. We are in a race to reverse the Constitution back to where it was when it was an all-white court, all-white males. So the best thing that we can do is use our political power and use policy to change whatever this court has coming up. Because it is not the court that chooses our lives for us. It is the policy that we put in place. And votes come for the policy. Isn't that right, sister?
Right. That's right. That's
okay.
right.
Counselor Bill King, what are your thoughts?
My guess is he probably goes one of the safer choices. I don't think it'll be Barrett. She's the most controversial of the ones that are out there. I don't think this is going to mean the repeal of Roe versus Wade. I think there will be some cases that give states more ability to regulate it. Yeah. But Roe versus Wade is the polling on it's like 70-20 or something like that to support it. I think if they just flat repealed it, it would be the end of the Republican Party as we know it. I don't think they're going to do that.
Tomaro Bell.
What I see and what I hope all America sees is there are consequences for actions and there's consequences for non-actions. This is what happened when you don't go vote and you have someone in office who can have the power to put someone in place who can repeal Roe versus Wade. I'm not saying that they will do it, but they definitely will have the power when you have that many conservatives on the Supreme Court. Not only that, they have affirmative action for colleges in jeopardy in this administration. You must understand there are always consequences, and this is the one we're with today.
Well,
Bob Price,
why are we saying Roe versus Wade? You said that last week, and I'm wondering why do you all think that Roe versus Wade is like set in stone? It's not.
No.
They don't want abortion. So why are we pretending that it could not happen? Because women fought for a very long time to get that right. And so now when you have a conservative court, they have Citizens United taught us one lesson. We still don't have the Voting Rights Act. Come on now.
But it is political. But it is political. It's still political at the end of it. It's political at the end of the day. And I don't think that they're going to go against a case that 70% of the American people support.
Okay, Bob Price, 4 staunch conservatives have kind of been listed as finalists. What word do you have?
Well, during the 2016 campaign, I said several times that there was no more important reason to vote for Donald Trump over Hillary Clinton than the Supreme Court. Had Hillary become elected, we would now be looking at a 6-3 liberal court versus going from a 4-4 with a swing vote to a 5-4 solid conservative. That's a huge difference in the court. So thank God the voters did the right thing in electing President Trump and getting good, solid, constitutional conservatives on the court. The justices that he will pick will interpret the Constitution as it was written and not go making up things as they go. That was the #1 reason I think that people voted for Donald Trump.
Tony, will this Supreme Court moving towards the right be a reason people will show up in November and the next presidential election?
Well, it better be, because we just heard President Trump contradict himself, because he said that the Supreme Court justices are supposed to be neutral, but he ran on the platform that said he would like the Supreme Court justice who would not be neutral. Exactly. So it's interesting that Trump's brand is exposing the American dream for what it seems to be as an American racket. So if people don't vote now, I'm not sure what will convince them to vote, because unlike Bill, I'm pretty certain that Roe versus Wade is going to be targeted,
Thank you,
tested,
from a gentleman,
and overturned. On top of it, I don't even think that's on Trump's agenda, because any of these folks, when they get rushed through the express lane, they will overturn it, or at least put a huge target on it. I think he's worrying about his impeachment. I think he's worrying how to further oppress Hispanics. So one of these A-listers, Ketledge, the ruling that they ruled on said it's okay for Border Patrol agents to use the term wets and tongs. Google those oppressive terms and then erase your browser so that people don't know that you're using those terms. But that judge said it's okay to use the word wets because that was just referring to some Hispanics. So we've got judges then who are ready to overturn science and ready to embrace language that will further oppress us. On top of it, Thapar, who's this other candidate, he's a really tough on crime. He put nuns in jail for exercising the civil rights. This is a bunch of
they exercise sabotage.
Well, let's go to court. No, he put nuns in jail. He put nuns in jail.
Okay. Hey, Marcus Davis, you're a businessman. Movement to the right could limit regulation on your businesses, but you're also progressive in some areas, and you feel like that movement to the right could be bad for African-American minority rights. Your thoughts?
I think moving to the right or to the left is dismal for this nation. I think this idea that we're doing exactly what the Founding Fathers did not intend to do is disgusting. I think the idea that we have a nation that is perfectly okay, whether you're Democrat or Republican, you're perfectly okay with quote-unquote stacking the deck on the court. That is not the intent of this court. Our nation was not designed to wait for every June to have the Supreme Court tell us how we're going to live for the next 40, 50 years. There are 2 other branches that were supposed to be responsible for that. Now, with regard to President Trump and his pick, I think the elephant in the room is I do not believe that any sitting president who is under criminal investigation should have the right or the authority to pick a justice who may determine his fate, because he's a lying, conniving,
He's
cheating
not under criminal
crook.
investigation.
He is under criminal investigation. The FBI's term when you're not a target of investigation is you're not a target of the investigation. You are the investigation.
We will talk about it again. I'm going to let Bob Price.
Bullseye.
When we return, despite a court order, most families separated at the border remain fractured. Plus, immigrants serving our nation's military tossed out by the Trump administration. Are they really a security risk? Stay with us.